Welcome back to Progressive Mindset.
Episode 2.
Oh, it's like we're on a roll. It's like we filmed 2 in the same day.
Yeah, we haven't even changed clothes.
And that's because we don't. We create the fear that we have only one pair of clothes. Anyway, that's if you're in episode 1. What we really want to talk about in this one, and this might be our speciality, if ever we're known for anything, maybe this, although we have been called the Ant and Dec of our industry sometimes.
The Chuckle Brothers, I think.
Is it the Chuckle Brothers?
Yeah, it's probably slightly worse.
It's a UK comedy reference for anyone that isn't familiar. So not a positive business acronym, maybe. But what we really wanted to talk about was business partnerships.
In terms of individuals and why
Individuals.
working with another individual to create something awesome.
Well, hopefully something awesome.
If you get it right.
Why that, I think, has worked very well for both of us personally and professionally. I guess how you go about finding that person. But once you found them, then how do you create that longevity? How do you create a healthy relationship? Because you spend more time with this person than you do a lot of your family members, unfortunately. Unfortunately. In my scenario, unfortunately.
Agreed.
And so maybe we should start with a bit about our story and why we think it's awesome and why it is possibly the way I would like to think the rest of my professional career I will forever continue to look to do it with someone or in some way, shape or form.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to point out that actually for both of us, going it alone is not something that we have much experience with. I had a small car cleaning company. I don't know how widely this is known. I had a small car cleaning company at one point in my life. I was much younger.
I saw the cars you clean. I know why you're not doing it anymore.
So that's the only experience I have of going it alone. So I don't think we're necessarily sat here saying
that's the only way.
One is better than the other, because I don't think we have enough exposure. But what we have managed to do is create this awesome partnership and friendship as well, which is okay, maybe not. Sorry, Jason just gave me a look for those listening only. We want to talk about that, and as much about keeping it healthy. If you do find yourself in a partnership, the amount of people having to exit people from their businesses that I see, I'm sure you see as well, it's
astounding. Yeah, and these are mature people, not in terms of age, but in terms of mindset, etc. I would think, and so you would think, okay, maybe I don't like this person personally, but I can work with them to get my goals.
It's
really
particularly damaging. You get this wrong, and you have to pay someone out, especially if it's not a good time for your business in terms of.
And they know when it's not a good time.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess for the first topic it is lonely at the top. It can be lonely at the top. We have done
find it lonely in
a duo, yeah.
Of loneliness. So it is definitely lonely at the top, and having someone to talk to. But let's take it back, man. Let's take it back.
Okay, further.
Let's go right back. Let's talk about finding that individual. So let's run through how we found each other. And
I'm getting comfortable here. So
and then maybe we can talk about some settings or some ways in which that could have happened in other ways.
Absolutely. So let's start with what you were looking for. Because for those that aren't aware, you had an ad out that I applied for. The rest is history.
So yeah, so let's start there. So I'd started a business. It was super young, and got to that point of needing employee number 1. Super key milestone for any business, I think. And popped an ad out. That was back in the days when you put things in papers and stuff, I think. And
you didn't pay for that ad. It was a free ad.
Free ad. Yeah, we were low budget at the time.
Okay.
And Jason applied for that position. So based on the fact that we were currently running out of my second bedroom, I had to explain to a young Jason that we were going to meet in a local coffee shop.
It was a good coffee shop though.
it was okay. It was a Saturday as well, of all things. And I guess that's just an aside. It was a weird way to start a relationship, but
what were you looking for? You had, we've spoken about this many times. You had other interviews that day.
Yeah.
In a similar weird scenario, you probably went into it a little bit nervous because this was the first time you'd done this as well. What were you looking for? What was it about a person that you needed or wanted?
So I was, if I'm honest, at the time I was looking for me when I started. We were looking. It was a first, IT role is the industry. So it was someone going into their first IT role, and I was looking for me a couple of years back when I'd started my career. So I was looking for someone that was hungry, and although didn't know everything about IT, just oozed, I'm dedicated and I'm going to give it my all.
Keep going.
And and I think had this wanting to understand how things worked. That was key and very industry specific. But
yeah, and I think you were looking for core values, not CV.
Correct. Yeah. No, absolutely. There were more people that were,
which is
better qualified.
I think
than
a
you
key
on the
point on this topic is, I would suspect many people, there's a particular scenario in my brain where they were looking for skill set and then trying to make a business partnership out of it. The fundamental foundation of our relationship is built upon, we have similar beliefs, morals, whatever whatever you want to phrase it as.
Yeah, I think at our core we are very similar. There are many other aspects that mean we are also very different, and I think that's going to play in something that's key. But so I think we've kind of covered off one scenario where you can. It was by chance. I wasn't looking for a business partner. I found someone that was very like-minded.
But in a weird way you were, because you were looking for someone like you.
Yeah, but what our relationship has turned into, and the reason that we work so well, is actually because we've developed into very different people, and that's what create your own luck.
You create your own luck. If you were looking for you, and you at that time were, I hate to say cliche, destined for some success or destined to achieve something, or you're passionate, hungry, and you were looking for a you've arguably created that.
Yeah, so I think definitely lots of businesses do find, or lots of business owners find their business partner in their early set of employees, and they find someone that is dedicated and hungry. And I would go as far as to say I didn't choose to have a business partner. Ultimately, I did, but actually it was your making. It was your hunger and your dedication, and the fact that you grew yourself into such a key asset to the business that I went, hang on a minute, this is
my master plan has not finished yet. No, and I think that's, but again, it's very kind, but if you're looking for the right person with the right core values to match yours, they are going to challenge you and become that person, because you're looking for someone, and this is the point of this first part. Finding that right talent, business person, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with the person, the core values. We've got, we know of some successful businesses in our industry where they focus on the person, not the skill. They focus on the person, not necessarily a talent. It's all beautiful and comes as part, but focus on the type of person, and then the rest typically follows or matures in the role.
I think so, and I think if you're finding, whether you're building you bring in a business partner from, quite accidentally, in terms of, hey, hang on, I found this person and they've grown into someone that I can really work with really, really well. That is one way of finding a business partner. And I think if you have people in your business at the moment, maybe you are at the top, you're feeling that loneliness, but you have a key individual that is really helping drive your business in various areas, that is someone that you should consider making a business partner and elevating that person, so that actually you see them as a peer and you can really bounce off each other and be vulnerable. I think that's it. There is an element of vulnerability that you have with your staff, and there is always a key piece of vulnerability that you'll probably always keep to someone trusted.
Absolutely,
And
and
I think that's what.
it reminds me of the saying, and I forget who said it. If you want to go far, go alone. If you want to go even further, go together.
Mm.
And I think that resonates to the leadership roles in particular, because, as I said, it is lonely sometimes, and you have a bad week, month, or year, whatever it is. You don't pass some of those stresses at the top onto employees, staff, whoever it may be. And you're going back to being in an uncomfortable scenario. If you're uncomfortable, if you're having a fearful moment and you're having a bad moment, having that person to jump off is. And so I would personally, and I'm aware, I can't necessarily, although I did have a failed business earlier on in the journey, I would recommend, for two reasons, you hold me accountable. I'd like to think I hold you accountable. And I don't think you can ever hold yourself accountable quite like someone else can.
No,
But that might be a different.
I agreed. Well, let's move on to that in a second. But before we move on from finding how we found each other, we've covered one option for finding things, right?
That's true. That is true.
I wanted to sort of, and I don't necessarily have answers for this, but I wanted to look at and think about collectively other settings. If you are actively searching for a business partner, because it is tough, other settings where you might find that individual.
The big one's co-working spaces. The big one and the first one out the gate is you've got to surround yourself with like-minded people.
Okay, so you've got events that you can find those.
You've got
like-minded
events.
people.
You've got the Regis offices around the world and spaces, and I know there's a whole. I know here in the UK we have a lot of office, co-working locations that are sponsored by some banks, and they are startup. They are startup central, and yes, everyone's got their own thing going on, but you got to. The first thing I ever got told in life was, "It's not what you know, it's who you know." And
I think you do that. I think you do that very, very well. Is it Mr. Networking over here?
And so you've got to surround yourself with like-minded people firstly.
No, I completely agree.
If you haven't
you're
got
definitely not finding your business partner sat in your bedroom doing things on your own. But so, okay, yeah, no, some good ideas there in terms of just finding those people. I guess it could come from a merger. Maybe maybe you are finding it tough and someone buys you out, and so
which is sometimes more achievable than people may think. Right? Is two businesses, two individual leaders, both having a tough time. That's sometimes
and
not
coming
a
together,
hugely
merger,
difficult conversation. It's achievable, as long as the stars align. It is a very possible scenario and shouldn't be off the table for anyone.
No, absolutely. So we found ourselves in the right setting, which leads us on nicely to, okay, so we found ourselves surrounded by these people, like-minded. They may have similar businesses. They may be looking to merge, acquire, or something like that. Let's get on to what makes a good. How do we identify this person? We're in the room with potentially many of them. How do we get to a point of, what this is the guy or girl that I want to move forward with in business?
I think I can summarize it.
Go for it.
I think you pick the person that is everything you are not, but has your root values, your core values. So, for example, if I'm an introvert, I should pick an extrovert. I want that person that balances me. I want that person that challenges me and takes me into the uncomfortable part of who I am.
Yep.
Because I'm going to become the best, well-rounded, all possible. I talked about this the other day. There's the game The Sims. You used to create your character and you could choose how many strength, how many happiness, how many sad. You want a well-rounded leadership.
You do
to a certain degree.
So I'm gonna fire out possibly a contradicting view there in that, and this draws from our own meeting. Is actually when we met, I wouldn't have said that you were the extrovert that you are.
That's because I lied to you for the whole meeting.
Today.
I lied to you for the whole meeting. I had no knowledge of what we were talking about. I bluffed the entire thing. But still.
But there has definitely been a growth since.
Sure.
When I look back, actually, we were quite similar in many ways, and I think a lot of that drove our need to adjust and grow and we push each other to grow in different areas.
So you'd pick someone that's similar to yourself?
Possibly. I'm just saying don't rule it out. I think if I was looking for a partner today, I acknowledge that something that I could absolutely be better at is putting myself out there, and I might find someone that actually would challenge me. Just because someone else that would be awesome at some other things in the business, I wouldn't necessarily say you're not going to work because you're not the extrovert that I need. It may actually be that I go, hey, I know what I've got to grow into. I know where I've got to get better. It's something that I can achieve if I put my mind to it, kind of scenario. And so that does it. And so again, it goes back to skill set. Is yes, skill set plays into the right now, but what about it's that core? As you said, it's core values and wanting the right things. I think for us, we also had very similar. Similar stories in terms of things that had happened in our personal lives that I think that brought us together
glue.
as a collective, and that's absolutely the glue that.
But what that then turned into was a very similar mission, very similar. I think so. I had two things. One is you get someone that complements and challenges you. They can be completely opposite, or maybe not as opposite, but still challenge you. And you have to have the same long-term goal.
Absolutely.
If you're not buy into the same long-term goal. And that can't be something wishy-washy like, I want to build an empire. It has to be slightly more defined than that.
It's got to be tangible, yeah.
And ours was quite a deep one, I think, deep down, and we didn't discuss it at the time, but I think ours was quite a deep personal thing that we were both aiming for. And so in those tough days and those hard days, I felt like we were always a team, even when we didn't get on.
Yeah, I don't think that's never come into question for sure. Does that lead us nicely onto
longevity,
keeping the relationship strong, I guess, and how do we overcome? Myself and Jason, we absolutely bicker like. Husband and wife, or husband and husband, as it would be more appropriate. But we argue, we get into it, right?
We had 3-4 weeks ago, we left on bad terms from the office.
Oh yeah, there was a couple of days where you
there was a couple
definitely weren't.
There was some profanity in private, and some swear words shared, and but it still never feels like we're not a team.
Yeah. So for me, it's obviously communication, but it's the openness and the honesty. There has always been a, whether you want to hear it or not.
The toughs,
we're
tough love,
we're going to talk about these things, and then we'll, maybe not speak to each other for a bit. Maybe it's a bit hard hitting, but ultimately come back together and talk about it again. Sometimes it needs several goes at it. I've had time to reflect on what you said, and you know what? Actually, I think you're right. You've got a damn good point, and we're going in the wrong direction over here. We need to steer this way.
Yep. It all comes back to honesty and transparency.
Yeah.
If you're thinking something, say it. Don't. Yes, maybe wait and think of a constructive way of saying it, but say it, get it out. Don't harbour it. Builds up. You turn it into something it's not. I learnt that a few weeks ago. That's the foundation, right? But that's also the foundation of a good relationship.
Of any good kind. Relationship. Oh, yeah.
The second thing, I guess for us, would be that we have those core values and we've learned each other's trigger points more than anything else.
Yeah, we know.
We're transparent. We're honest. And we've learnt when just to leave you alone. I push it sometimes, but
yeah, absolutely. You got to learn how to know how to wind the other person up as well, right? It's got to be fun along the way. So you got to learn what buttons to push, and maybe when you
but also when to stop.
Too many.
Right? Yeah, you know, and we've learnt that. Here are the lines. I think the other thing, and bring it, your personality, professional, etc., have clear lines between you in terms of your roles.
That was where we excelled. So I whether it was, it was a lot of tension was caused by
overlap.
People not knowing, as two business owners trying to do actually a bit of everything. the people internally, I think, cause that friction because you get played off like mummy and daddy. If one says no, well, I'll go to the other one because I might get a different answer, and that definitely created friction, and also where we excelled as individuals and therefore our business excelled was when we went, hey, you look after these things, I'll look after these things.
There's a clear line in the middle.
And that doesn't mean you don't that absolutely doesn't mean you don't collaborate and you don't discuss and you get thoughts and feelings and all that sort of good stuff about those issues. But ultimately, it comes down to numbers, right? We assigned numbers and different responsibilities that were clearly defined and measurable, so we know how each other are doing from that perspective. And actually, it means you can get out of each other's way. I think is important as well.
It does, and it became less confrontational because ultimate responsibility ended at this person rather than these two people. And okay, if you're at a stalemate and you both disagree, you now have someone accountable rather than what is it? If multiple people are accountable, no one's accountable,
No one's
right?
accountable, yeah.
So honesty, that's a big part, as we said,
honesty and openness,
Definitely, you've got to know how to trigger them and have that comedy aspect. I think that's very important, and know when to stop. And finally, I think those clear lines of accountability.
Yeah, and I want to add one final thing to Keeping It Healthy is have two very distinctly different types of catch up. One catch up is your business catch up. Let's talk numbers. Let's talk how we're doing. Let's hold each other accountable. A very transactional meeting. We're talking. It's no different to a meeting you'd have with anyone else in the business.
Absolutely.
And then have your same page meeting, and that draws from EOS. Well, we'll get on. We spoke about it in a previous podcast that we did.
And just to clarify, it's Entrepreneur Operating System for those.
Yeah, most people have read the Traction book. It's definitely nothing new, but we self-implemented.
What if someone hasn't? Now they're going to feel isolated.
If you haven't read Traction, fixed. So, but
we can stop the podcast.
Yeah,
no more
done.
episodes.
That same page meeting is where we get into a deep and meaningful. Hey, I know when I said that really ticked.
That's an unfiltered. You can say anything.
Yeah. Hey, you.
But
really
you leave it
off.
at that door.
You have it. Keep. I think sometimes we let ours go on for too long. Actually, keep. Meetings. We all spend a lot of time in meetings. Keep it defined.
That's a different episode.
But yeah, we get everything out in the open, right? We're covering everything off in terms of you annoyed me here or why did that happen.
Which links in with the honesty and
thoughts
transparency.
Yeah,
is just because you feel like the event from last week is no longer playing on your mind. Let's talk about it and learn from it. You've added a point, so now I want to add a point because
we're going to keep one in up. This is the episode that never ends.
You have to work on that relationship like it's a relationship outside of work.
Definitely.
We have to do work events sometime together. We actually make a habit of attending a specific event once a year together. So it's some time for us. I think unofficially we've never kind of said it to each other, but to keep that relationship, keep that. I guess we nurture it. We keep a pulse on it. We make sure that we're doing what we should be doing, and we're staying in sync to a certain degree.
Yeah, absolutely. So I went off and did some thinking, and I wasn't listening for a bit.
So time with me lost your attention.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about that. And hey, look, throw it in the comments if this isn't a thing. But is there I started to wonder: is there a partnership out there where these two people aren't actually deep friends? Outside of it, is there a successful business partnership
where you end at 5? And you don't speak to that person.
And that's it. We're business only. I don't know whether that exists. I'm not saying.
Can it exist? Can it exist?
Hey, maybe we'll find out. But
life is your working week is 70% work. Depends on the hours you put in. 80%, 90%.
So
that's the person you have most in common with to a certain degree.
Indeed, and don't
Are you trying to work out if we're an anomaly or if?
No, I was trying to work out whether there are anomalies. What I guess I'm encouraging. We've summarised how you find someone, how we how we make it work and all that kind of good stuff. I guess you should get on with that person so well that we've definitely blurred the lines. And I think it's absolutely okay to blur the lines in terms of we go out, we hang out outside of work, Saturday, Sunday, days that aren't work days. It's not like we go for go down the pub. I think that's quite a normal thing, but we hang out outside of work. We have a very good friendship, and long may that continue. When we're old and grey, we're no longer working together. But I don't think people need to worry about that being a defining.
Absolutely not.
Is let the lines. That's only going to make that relationship.
The
stronger,
core
right?
purpose of this is to bring it back to business. You are finding this person to help you in business. You are finding this person to elevate you as a professional, and you'll find this person to take you to a level that you couldn't have gone to alone. That doesn't have to bleed into personal. I would just be surprised if it didn't.
We absolutely didn't touch on developing each other in that's a whole new benefit of having a partner, is just largely for us it's trying to one up each other and making sure that we're and
That competitiveness.
Yeah, it creates a competitive
You didn't
nature.
mention that when we played tennis, but let's not.
No sports.
No sports.
But in business, we continue to elevate each other.
And that's why this podcast is we talk about a lot of things, and this is we have conversations on here just like we do as if we were down the pub or whatever we're doing together. But there must be people out there that have just started an endeavour, feeling a bit lonely, it's tough, or someone that's got 5 people and they're finding it a bit tough. You could be at any point in that relationship, and you're lonely, or you're struggling, you don't have good work-life balance, whatever the trigger is. A business partnership could be could be something that helps you. It could be the answer. So find it, nurture it, water it. You gotta go grab it.
It's got to build, and then it's got to be maintained once it's built right. So hopefully this has been a useful episode for people that are as you say, worried about being lonely, or maybe you're going through a challenging time in your partnership. So before you go and spend an awful lot of money,
if you're in a
exiting
business
that
partnership, take it back to basics.
Yeah,
have that. Try and create that relationship. Try and start on those core values. Sometimes things just don't work. People change. But
agreed. But if you're nurturing it, hopefully it can see you through to the end until you find
You've
an
reached
exit
that
or whatever
goal.
that goal is. Yeah.
Yeah, you had that goal in common when you started. So either someone's goal changed or you've both taken your eye off the ball.
Agreed.
Who knows? So
All right.
if you haven't got one, it may be worth considering. If you have got one, nurture them. And if you have got one and it's thriving, we'd love to hear about it, because
if we didn't cover anything, again, stick it in the notes. I'm really encouraged.
is there anything we can do? There must be some there must be things. There's some thriving business relationships out there that we could learn from, because at some point we're going to need to evolve again, and we're constantly evolving. But at some point, maybe we are a limit together, and we need to make sure people give us those recommendations for the next step.
Agreed. So throw it in the notes. Just got to mention those notes one more time, and we'll see.
And if anyone
soon.
wants a game of tennis, I'm always available. Thanks for listening.
All right. Thank you.